You've heard it many times before. Computer and video games under fire because of graphic violence and sexual themes. But do the games really lead to real-life violence and sexual misdeeds, or is this all just a big to-do about nothing? AFR correspondent Jem Sardar looks at both sides of the issue.
It was one of the worst school shootings in American history. 2 Colorado teenagers gunned down a dozen of their teachers and classmates at Columbine. In the wake of the tragedy, people pointed fingers just about everywhere. They laid blame at the feet of the shooter's parents, the availability of guns, and some experts were quick to blame violent video games the boys played before going on their real-life rampage. But does virtual violence really make people...
It's always been the standard perception that violence in video games leads to violence in teenagers.
People always want to know is simply, do violent video games cause aggression? And the short answer to that is yes, they do. But unfortunately, that's much too simple of a response. Although they do cause aggression, the effect is actually extremely tiny, that it doesn't have a huge effect on a person's aggression. And perhaps what's more important, what we examine in our lab, or demonstrate in our lab, is only certain types of people are strongly affected by violent video games, whereas the vast majority of people are completely
study we did that took about 2 years. It was funded by $1.5 million from the United States government to look at violence in video games and whether kids who play violent video games are at greater risk for acting out violently in the real world. We found that those kids who played a lot of M-rated games, that is, they listed them among their favorite games and they played them for more hours, that they were at greater risk for having a bunch of these more common problems. Now, you have to understand this does not mean that playing these games causes these problems. It may be that the kids who are attracted to violence in the real world are also attracted to these games. It may be a third problem or a third issue going on that's controlling both of them. We don't know. But we did find that if you wanted to predict which kids are more likely to get into trouble, looking for kids who play more M-rated games among their favorites and play, for example, more than 15 hours per week, they are at greater risk.
While violent video games may not affect most people, the study shows people prone to anger get much more aggressive after shooting and stabbing their electronic enemies after just 15 minutes at the control. The findings shoot down arguments that video games have no effect on school shooters, nor do they prove that virtual violence triggers them either. The professor calls the games a symptom of trouble, not a cause.
I don't want to go. Want to stay with you forever. Hold me in your arms. Let me feel your beating heart. We should always be together.